into the kitchen. "Geez, is something on fire?" "Nearly," Amelia sighed. And then, because she had no other choice, she went to work on another bruschetta-style flatbread, a favorite here at the café, made with 3 different kinds of cheese from the local dairy farm, and basil and tomatoes picked straight from her own garden. "Table 12?" Maddie asked, looking at the order slips. "I'll bring them a house wine to make up for the delay." House wine meant it came from their family's orchard and winery, located right here in Blue Harbor. "Thanks, Maddie." Amelia tossed her youngest sister a grin over her shoulder as she rolled out the dough she kept in large batches in the fridge. Once that was settled, and Maddie announced that the couple was thrilled by the reward of their inconvenience, they worked in silence for a few minutes. Amelia on the savories, Maddie on the sweets. Amelia knew that eventually her younger sister would want to do something on her own, open a bakery, or start a small cookie company. She'd always been good at baking, and pie was her specialty. For now, Maddie seemed happy for the work here, and Amelia was happy to give her the space she needed to create and experiment, and share a little of her wisdom, too. Even, she thought, as she lathered some homemade pesto over the flatbread, the mistakes. Once that was in the oven and the timer was set, she glanced out through the open window that separated the kitchen from the front counter, catching a glance from her older sister, who had just come in by the looks of it. "Brit's here," she told Maddie, "and Robbie," she added, noticing Brit's ex-boyfriend turned boyfriend again. More than that, he also now helped Brit run Conway Orchard since their father's retirement. "Is Kira with them?" Maddie perked up. Robbie's 7-year-old daughter was a favorite at the cafe, and a professional taste tester, too, even if she was rather easy to please. "I saved the last flower-shaped sugar cookie for her, just in case they stopped by." Amelia grinned at her sister. "Just like Dorothy used to do," she said, referring to the original owner of the cafe and its original namesake. Maddie was the youngest of the 4 Conway sisters, and more than 3 years below Amelia. "Do you remember how she used to always save you an oatmeal cookie? Claim it was the very last one, even though we all knew she had it tucked away?" Maddie nodded. "They were the best. Almost as good as—" She inhaled sharply and grabbed the wax paper bag containing the flour cookie from the counter. Maddie didn't need to finish the thought for Amelia to know what she meant. The cookies that used to be made here at this cafe were almost as good as their mother's cookies had been. But they couldn't compare. Even she hadn't dared to try, despite all her love for this cafe and her work in the kitchen. But Maddie had carried on the dessert recipes that her mother had taught her over the years from their home kitchen, and Maddie's pies and cookies and cakes were every bit as good as their mother's. "I'll go make the rounds," Maddie said, before pushing out into the dining room. Amelia went back to plating orders, her heart a little heavier than it had been a few minutes ago. She'd only been 16 when her mother had died, and each of the sisters had taken the loss in their own way. Brit had left town the first chance she'd had, and stayed away. Cora had kept their mother's Christmas traditions going, even when the rest of them had felt too sad to put up a tree, and Maddie had continued to bake the recipes that their mother had loved to share. And Amelia had taken care of the nest in Brit's absence, tending to the younger girls, going through the motions, trying to keep her head on practical things, and her heart out of everything. But when this cafe had gone on the market shortly after she'd graduated from college,